Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Taco Tuesday edition of The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras, in the great state of California. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Warski. I'll be coming to you live from the East Coast, the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most, here on the Rundown, where we give you 2A views and conservative news. And Craig, I think I had too many tacos for lunch.
Too many tacos. You can never have too many tacos.
Listen,
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum.
Yes, yum, yum, yummity, yum, yum, yum. You guys don't see it, but we are actually dancing during that entire song. That is how much we enjoy our theme song to Taco Tuesday.
love that song. Love those tacos. Love that song. Yeah. Listen, it's not a matter of anything wrong with the tacos. It's just a matter of enough room for all the tacos that I had. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, I can see that. I can definitely see that. I've had to learn a while ago that, especially as I've gotten older, portion size matters.
yeah, right.
I've come to realize that I've learned to eat until I'm not hungry as opposed to until I'm stuffed.
Right. Yeah. The body at a certain age says, "No, we don't have a lot of elasticity anymore, son. That's the space we got, and you have reached a capacity."
Oh yeah. Well, it's not even so much that you hit the capacity; it's that the processing gets backed up.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Processing, like, we can't process it that fast no more.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, it's I imagine like a truck driver talking to an operator, going, "No, hey, we're full, man. It's sorry, I got a machine to finish. Just
I feel bad. I feel bad for folks. Folks, this is probably too much. This is probably too much for folks. They're like, this is
taco
not the way.
processing.
They're like,
Come on.
I mean, in Florida, it's practically dinner time, and this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, yep.
But hey, we love our tacos, and even when they hate us, we love them.
Good stuff.
Excellent,
So
sir.
what do we got
Excellent,
going on in
sir.
the world today, Craig?
What'd you say?
So what do we got going on in the world today?
You know what? Why don't we? Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the first news story. Got a lot of really good stuff, interesting stuff going on here. Let's start off with the Taliban. That's right, the Taliban. We're going to be talking about the Taliban. The Taliban has decided that they are going to, well, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to ban all mannequins? Oh, no. They're not just going to ban all mannequins. Let us be clear. They want to behead all mannequins. That's right. See, at first their goal was, they were saying, well, you know what? We don't want these mannequins because they are, they are showing off the goods, we'll just say. And as it turns out, they realized with all of these stores, the stores basically were telling them, we can't do without these mannequins. We got to put our clothes on them. That's how we display our clothes. And plus, we've spent a lot of money on these clothes. So they made a compromise. And they have now said that all mannequins shall be beheaded. Did you hear what I said, Mike? All mannequins shall be beheaded. Crazy stuff, eh?
Oh, Taliban, Mr. Taliban. I have my fair share of my life spent
Hey,
in
Mr.
physical fighting
Taliban,
contact
tally
with
me
the Taliban.
banana.
So I feel like I can make fun of them as much as I want to. Listen, here's the deal with the Taliban, folks. Did Biden screw up the withdrawal? Absolutely. But the plan was always to withdraw. Even under previous President Trump, we were getting out, and what we had told the Afghan people was, hey, it's going to be time. You're going to have to protect yourselves here. We've been here for almost 20 years, training your army and training your police force, and you're going to have to protect yourselves. And Craig, the prevailing attitude of everybody in Afghanistan was, Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, sure you will. Sure we will. Yeah. Like you're not going to be here. Like you're not going to be writing the checks for us anymore. And what did it take? 2 weeks. 2 weeks before the Afghan Afghan army and police completely folded. I know some special ops units that hung out as long as they could, and we had to get them out of the country because they were betrayed. But we told them, and they literally thought, Craig. Now remember, this is a generation. This is 18, 20 years worth of war there that just thought that grew up the whole time with, well, Big Brother USA and Big Brother NATO's here, so we don't have to worry about this. Well, now that they're having to worry about it every day, this is amazing. These are the complaints you're getting. Well, they're cutting the head off of mannequins. Well, guess what's next? This is kind of an indicator what's going to happen next. And this is actually the Taliban letting everybody know what's going to happen next. If you continue to do this nonsense, Sharia law says I'm coming for your head next. And guess what? Nobody's going to care because you had 20 years to stand up for yourself. We gave you every opportunity, every weapon, every resource, and you failed to do it. So, sorry about your luck.
Well, the problem is there are enough people there who believe in Sharia law. Number one, I think the number one people who are arguing against a lot of this stuff are the women there in Afghanistan, who are expecting their menses to stand up and fight with them and for them, and they're not. They're not doing so. And
listen, they've got just as many pansy-fied men there as we do in this country at that age group. Again, because they've grown. So you figure anybody under the age of 30 there, has grown up with this comfort feeling of, Big Brother NATO is going to make sure this doesn't happen to us. Or it's not going to. And guys, they just don't get picked on as much. Don't get me wrong. They walk down the street wearing their skinny jeans and their pink shirts, and the same thing's happening to them as happening to the Afghan women. It's just the Afghan women are the primary target because it's that's their first way to go, and there's many more. I remember we did a story about a month ago, if you recall, where they decided they were gonna protest some Taliban decisions. And I was like, well, all right, let's just do the body count tomorrow. Because guess how the Taliban deals with protesters? They don't fire the guns in the air; they fire them at the protesters.
Well, hey, you know what? We'll just have to take a moment of mourning for all of the beheaded mannequins in Afghanistan.
Boy, yeah, get you a special right now. Get you some 2-for-1 mannequin heads.
Very funny, very funny. Okay, moving right along. Next on the topic, we have, speaking of totalitarian governments, let's talk about the state of California. So in the state of California, we have a state senator. His name is Richard Pan, and he is actually, sadly, my state senator. Richard Pan is a doctor. He's a pediatrician. Now, Mr. Pan had the nerve to say in an article that he wrote on his website, on his state website, basically he had the nerve to point out that he said there were more than 1,000 California children have died from COVID-19. That's right. Specifically on his website, he said, I grieve to learn that more than 1,000 children have now died from COVID-19, and nearly 170,000 new pediatric COVID cases were confirmed last week, Senator Pan said. COVID cases and hospitalizations of children are rising due to the more infectious Delta and Omicron variants, and too many children are not yet fully vaccinated and are left vulnerable. Now, Mike, we've already gone through this exact same thing with our with the Supreme Court justice. Now, mind you, Mike, according to the CDC and according to all the data we have, grand total since the beginning of COVID, about a little over 800 individuals under the age of 19 have passed away from COVID. And what we know of them is that when you take out those who are either seriously sick or had serious comorbidities, we're talking about a dozen children have died of COVID nationwide.
Yeah.
So how did he get to 1,000 here in the state of California?
Well, Craig, that's easy because he's a moron. That's how he's just making up numbers that sound good to him. So when he's up there testifying on the stand, that it sounds like good information. Well, he's a doctor. He clearly must know what he's talking about. He must know how to count to 1,000. Yeah, he does, but he's counting wrong. He's got misinformation, and he's got Who knows, Craig? Maybe the media gave it to him wrong because the media's been lying about it so often. When he did his research, the research might have said thousands. Who has any idea these days? Did you see what happened with Justice Gorsuch the past day or two when he was talking about the flu? That I guess one of the transcript from the oral arguments when he was giving when they were talking about the COVID case, he said that he knew that even with the flu that there were thousands of people that died from the flu. And the quote that the media put out was, he said, there were hundreds of thousands of people that died from the flu. And the Supreme Court came back and said, no, he said hundreds, thousands of people. So, you get the media that's immediately putting out false information. I want to throw Dr. Pan under the bus here, but now I'm even questioning myself. Did the media give him bad information to begin with?
Well, but that's the thing. And see, my point is that these are people who are making decisions. He's the chairman of a powerful committee that deals with health issues in the state of California. Sotomayor and Gorsuch both. I mean, Gorsuch's information was correct, but Sotomayor is a part of the Supreme Court, which makes decisions that impact every single American.
Yes.
How are they spouting, or how are they getting? They're either getting bad information, they're being fed bad information, or they're misquoting intentionally or unintentionally that information. My point is that if this is what they believe, then they're making their decisions based on faulty information. And that's a major problem. And if the media is the one who is the problem, then maybe they need to be taken out to the woodshed.
Yeah, just thinking about it while we're talking, even if they're given bad information, they still should be using basic journalistic rules, and looking for two independent, verifiable sources before quoting them. So if they did that, the Sotomayor would have had correct information, and Dr. Pan here would probably have had correct information as well. You did say Dr. Pan, right? Is that his name?
Dr. Pan, yeah.
Is his first name Peter?
No, it's not.
Okay, just check. I'm just checking.
But dude, man, it is, like I said, it is scary, because once again, we're realizing that if there seems to be, it's like funny. It's like you always used to say you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. Well, apparently, some people are, or believe they are, entitled to their own facts. And when you bring facts to them, and I know this, I lobbied on behalf of the Second Amendment in the legislature for a number of years. And what I realized was that when you bring information that goes contrary to what it is that they believe, or what it is that they want to do, or don't fit their narrative, they ignore you. If you bring information and you are not a part of an organization, or you are part of an organization that they tend to disagree with, doesn't really matter if what you're saying is fact, they simply disregard it. And that is how they work. And that's the biggest problem you have with, in particular, when you have states where you have one party rule. Like, we have a Supreme Court where at least, we've got people on both sides who have a voice, who are able to say things. And so you can see and hear the debates. In the legislature, in California legislature, you don't get to hear that. You don't get to hear it because every time you go up, you get each side gets 2 witnesses, 2 minutes. And that's about all the quote unquote substantive public policy debate you get on any particular issue.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we have people in politics, Craig, that get away with what we let these people get away with, and they continue to do such, and it's okay.
Yes, they do.
And I know you deal with that when you're doing your lobbying, and when you're doing your political analyzing there for them. And it's just, I don't know how you walk away from that without smacking somebody in the back of the head and just shaking your head and walking away.
Well, you want to, and you kind of have to do a verbal kind of thing. I always said this. A guy, one of the older lobbyists said, "Look, this is nothing but kabuki theater." Said, "Well, if it's theater, then I'm going to put on a show."
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Tip your waitresses and enjoy the fish.
Speaking of waitresses, one of your favorite waitresses / bartenders was in the news lately. That's right. We're talking about AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. As you know, there were a number of photos of her vacationing with her boyfriend in Florida, all hanging out, doing all her thing, all maskless. Kind of interesting. Here it is, someone who's part of the mask police, part of the mask tyrants, but she was in Florida. Went to Florida, which is wide open, which is kind of anti-mask, anti-whatever New York is. And needless to say, Mikey, she tested positive for COVID-19. Now, according to her office, she is feeling mild symptoms, but she is at home and she is okay. Now, mind you, this is one of the group of people who was completely like, oh my God, you people need to put on your masks. You people need to get vaccinated. Clearly, you don't know how to stop the expansion and the growth of COVID-19 because you people are not smart enough to not get COVID. And here it is. She went to Florida and got COVID.
Okay. Wow. Where to go? One, I have two independent verifiable sources. Yes, she was Alex the bartender when I was there about 10 years ago. Spent a week in Boston doing some work. So yes, she was my bartender back then. Two, Craig, isn't she vaccinated? How did she get the COVID? I thought she was vaccinated. Doesn't she have the vaccination and the boosters and the booster vaccination and the vaccine boosters? Doesn't she have all of those? How did she possibly get the COVID? I don't understand this. Let's see. Three, you know why we don't get to sick in COVID? You know why we don't get sick with the COVID in Florida? Because none of us are wearing masks. We're all back to work, and everybody has a level of immunities down here. It's not quite herd immunity, but we're all out. We're all experiencing life and experiencing everybody else. So if it rolls through the air, I haven't been hiding behind a mask and a vaccination for the past 2 years. I've been living my life. So if COVID happens to roll across in front of me, my body says, it's just like anything else. Push it away. We're going to use our natural immunities to push it away because I haven't been suppressing my natural immunities for 2 years. So, what she gets, she should have got herself a bigger dose. They should have given her. She should have got the new one.
The big old shot in the arm.
She's. You know what? I wonder if she made any drinks when she was down there in Miami.
Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, just the point is, folks. Here's the deal. Look, if you whether you are vaccinated or not, Omicron is coming for you. Now, I don't say that in an ominous tone. I say that to mean that it spreads quickly. It spreads easily. By all accounts, whether vaccinated or unvaccinated, the symptoms are relatively mild. From everything that I've heard, they're relatively mild, especially if you are young and healthy. And once you've had Omicron, guess what? You now will have an increased number of antibodies, and you will have an even stronger protection against the more serious variants of COVID-19. Omicron is basically should basically be, or appears to be, what will take this from a pandemic to an endemic, which basically means it's a disease. It's something that's going to be around forever that we're going to have to live with, but it's going to basically be like the flu, like influenza that comes around every year. Now, I'm not a medical expert, but Mikey is, and I think he can co-sign on what I just said.
I am a licensed physician assistant in the Philippine Islands. I went to the Sweetwater Institute of Leg Shaving and Sensitivity Salon in Quezon City, so I do have that criteria or that certificate on my wall there. Now, Craig, you started out by saying the Omicron is coming for you.
Yes.
Now say that one more time because you forgot the sentence after that.
Oh, the Omicron is coming for you.
Can you smell what the Omicron is cooking? Right? Right? Is that what you used to say?
I had totally forgotten about that until you just said it.
By the way, if you could smell what the Omicron is cooking, you've probably got the Omicron. Or you don't have the Omicron.
You don't have the Omicron. If you can smell it, you may not have it.
So if you can't smell the Omicron, you probably have the Omicron. So
if you can't smell what it's cooking, then you probably have it.
Yeah, there you go.
That is a joke. YouTube. That's a joke. Don't ban us again.
That's
please.
Right. Yeah,
that's
ban
a
the
joke.
Rock.
Ha ha. Yeah. Ha ha. Ha ha. Please don't ban us again. Okay. Look, folks, you got to do that with YouTube because they're just like that. The YouTube tyrants are after us. Just saying. Okay, moving right along. Now this was something that was actually discussed It was interesting. It was discussed when they first came out with the vaccines. How are we going to hand out the vaccines? How are we going to determine who should get the vaccines? Well, initially, what the head of the CDC was saying was, look, here's what we need to do. We need to give it out to those who are most vulnerable, specifically those who are over the age of 75, who have the highest morbidity rate, who have the highest mortality rate, who tend to be who are the largest percentage group of people who are dying of COVID, and that's those over the age of 75. So they should get the vaccine first. Well, there was one problem with that. The problem was that group was overwhelmingly white, and because it was too white, they needed to make sure that there was equity in terms of who got the vaccine, making sure that all races kind of got it, according to their proportion in society. And well, that just didn't fit with those over the age of 75. So what they decided to do, and by the way, that's why they decided that essential workers were the ones who were going to be getting the vaccine first, because the equity numbers were better. There was more diversity amongst those folks. So forget who's most vulnerable. They decided we're going to give the vaccine to the people who are most, who are the most diverse group that we can logically get away with saying they should get it. Well, now the city of New York is considering doing the same exact thing when it comes to treatments for COVID-19. And we're not just talking vaccines now, we're also talking about therapeutics that have been finally approved by the FDA. So that as they go forward and they start handing out these treatments for COVID-19, the number one thing that is going to determine who gets it is going to be, who are you? Are you, they're basically giving it first to black and brown people, women, all of the basically underrepresented groups. And if you are a white male, in particular, if you are a straight white male Protestant in New York City, no therapeutics for you, or at least you go to the back of the line.
Do we need any more motivation for people to leave New York? All right, really, folks, do you need any more motivation? I don't care if you are one of the black or brown people getting the vaccine, or you're one of the white, the people that are not. When your city tells you, hey, we are going to use racial discrimination to help our people that we think are going to be most vulnerable and most sick, it's time for you to leave. It's time for you to get up and leave. If they're willing to do it for treatments for a virus, then they're willing to do it when, I don't know, it's a cold winter and we can't send electricity to everybody. You know what? We're going to turn off the white peoples this time, or we're going to turn the water off for Hispanics. You need to get up and get out. You should be nothing but an individual with a name and an ID number. You should not be a black, a white, a Hispanic. You should not be anything like that for your government when it comes time for providing essential services to you. And if you want to live in one of these giant Democrat cities where you live and die based on their essential services, rather than a town or a state that's a little more red, and they provide the opportunities for you to provide for yourself, well, you know what? Then stay in New York and die, because that's your option right now.
Well, Mike, here's the thing, and this is what, folks, I hope you guys take a moment to think about this. If they can turn it off for black people, for white people now, there's nothing that makes it so that they can't turn it off for black people tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or
That's
for
exactly
Latinos the day after that, or Jews the day after that. Once you start saying that it is okay to discriminate based on one's outward appearance, based on one's race, then all of a sudden you are going to start to see it's going to start to become standard policy. The left are not going to be in charge forever. And I'm not saying that racists are going to be in charge, but what I am saying is that you keep going after people and segmenting people. Eventually, the people that you've segmented, the people that you've discriminated against, may one day be in charge. And when they are, there may be a group of them, a contingent of them, who decide that they're going to come after. They're going to come after you. what happened to the days of, wanting to be known by the content of your character, judged by the content of your character, and not by the color of your skin. That is not what they're considering. That's not what they're talking about doing here in this case. In the case of New York City, they're basically trying to tell people, yeah, you're gonna die. We're gonna let people live if they're the right skin color. And that's, mind you, whether or not you believe that COVID is serious, they believe COVID is serious. They believe that you need to be treated, otherwise you could potentially die of COVID. That's what they believe. And as they believe that, they're saying that, white people, you don't have the same right to live as people of color.
Yeah, Craig, it's very rare in history that the oppressed become the ruling class that switches around. Usually you have the ruling class that just continues to oppress, put you down and take away and watch you wither away and die. And I think that's more likely what's going to happen in New York. Because now remember, the only reason the American experiment worked was because we had firearms, right? We had guns,
right?
And they couldn't take those from us. And we know that the people in New York don't have them, right? So what they have is
not
Letitia
legally
James,
anyway.
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah. So you got Letitia James taking them from you, no matter which way you turn. So my advice for you is get out, choke off the city.
Well, right? People are taking your advice. As we know, in record numbers, they're leaving New York.
Yeah, move to the island, move north of Westchester County, choke the city out, and watch it die.
Most of them are coming to Florida.
Well, yeah, but that's where New Yorkers come to Florida, and Chicago's go to Arizona. That's the right. If you've never studied the routes of migration, people from the Midwest go to Arizona, and people from the Northeast come to Florida.
And people from California either go to Oregon or to Oregon, Arizona, and Nevada.
What we know has stopped though is people going to California.
Yes, we do know that fewer and fewer people. Well, let me clarify. Illegal people who are in the country illegally are coming to California. Poor people are coming to California. Yeah. But California, just people who are here legally coming from other states who are gainfully employed, fewer and fewer of them are coming to California. We have communist Chinese coming to our schools. Yeah. But or at least sending.
That's
their
right.
children.
At least they don't teach critical race theory, the communists. So the Chinese, anyway.
Yeah, right.
Listen, in California, just in case you're there and you want to, here's a quick lesson. If you got a notepad in front of you or not, if you have less people moving into your state and more people on welfare or illegal that move into your state, sooner or later, with the programs you're handing out, your checkbook will not balance. And guess what?
Sooner or later.
As soon as the House and Senate and or the presidency in the United States is red, they will not be writing you the checks anymore to help you make up for your deficit.
Well, Mike, what's interesting is we rely heavily on the investment class, right?
Yes.
So what's happened is that during COVID, the investment class has actually done quite well because in many cases, the government policies of places like California and New York, they've taken out their competition. They've shut down small businesses who could not afford to do all of the stuff they needed to do in order to be able to stay open. Right. And so they've shut down a lot of small businesses. So a lot of the larger tech companies that have been able to adapt to the new COVID world, right, or COVID policies, a lot of the bigger stores, which they allowed to remain open, like the Walmarts and whatnot, they all prospered. And so the investment class prospered. While the average person has seen a significant hit in their wallet. Everything is costing them more money, and they earned less money during that time. Well, eventually that's going to start to catch up. Eventually that's going to start to catch up with the investment class. And we just saw once again, the largest budget in the state's history, $227 billion budget. And what's funny is that they increased money. This is a side note. They increased funding everywhere except for the criminal justice system. That's the one area where they did not get more money, despite the fact that we've seen record increases in crime and violent crime and murder in the state of California.
Well, again, they're going to lay that down on the counties and the cities and let them fight that battle, because why should the state, get their hands dirty? Let them,
because they created the problem.
Of course they did. Of course they did. We know this. And listen, and they're pushing out investment class, and they're pushing out the elite class. Listen, what San Francisco got in a fight with Tesla. What did he do?
Packed up and moved.
Goodbye.
There is nothing more mobile than a rich man and his money.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for 20 plus years. When Tiger Woods signed his first deal worth $90 million with Nike, he went from being a resident of California to a resident of Florida.
Yep.
Saved him about $4 million a year.
You got In-N-Out Burger right now going, what's going on over there? Where they going? I'll see you guys there.
It's time to go.
Yep.
Okay.
Well.
Well, let's move on to our parting shot, and this kind of fits once again in the same realm of one of our stories yesterday and our other story today, and this has to do with the complete and utter misinformation. I don't know if I want to call it stupidity or misinformation of the left, or what, but here we go. I'll just throw it up here. So this is how it started. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. And, well, this is how it's going. I'm not sure I understand the distinction why the why the states should have the power, but the federal government wouldn't. Now, Mike, I would think that one quick reading of the Constitution would have answered that question for her.
I don't understand how she's a judge. I don't understand. Well, I mean, I guess I do. We say it all the time, right? That that liberal judges legislate from the bench, and conservative judges, rule the law. And to have her, not recognize the 10th Amendment to the Constitution is a little bit, it's one of the Bill of Rights. I'm not talking about something passed 150 years later. For her not to recognize the Constitution or the 10th Amendment to the Constitution is a little bit disheartening, I have to tell you.
Well, it's either she doesn't recognize it, or she either doesn't recognize it in that she doesn't remember it, or she doesn't recognize it as in she doesn't give it authority in her decisions. And I believe the latter is quite possible.
Right.
She's feigning the former in order to be able to justify the latter. And she's just pretending that she doesn't recognize it. She's pretending that she doesn't know. Because by then doing that, she then gets to make a judgment based on whatever the heck she wants. And that's, in the end, what some of these justices are doing. And liberal judges tend to do this, is they've already decided what they believe justice is. They're just trying to figure out a roadmap to getting there in their decisions. Conservative justices generally look at the law, and they look at the Constitution, and they determine how does this law apply to, how does the Constitution apply to this law? And that's generally how they make their rulings. That's why it's so often you see conservative justices sometimes siding with liberal justices against us, because guess what? Sometimes, what we want as conservatives is not necessarily consistent with the Constitution.
Right.
And I wholly admit that. There's some things that I want that are not consistent with the Constitution, and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be legal because, well, if you want to do it, sometimes it's not so much that you can't have it or do it, is that there's a way to do it. And the courts are not the place to legislate. That's supposed to happen in the legislature.
Just folks, just as a warning, look out there right now and know that you've got a Supreme Court justice who takes a look at the Bill of Rights and goes, I don't think so.
Meh.
Not that important. Not important to me.
Not that important. Definitely not that important to her. So, hey, Mikey, how about a shout out to our sponsors?
Oh boy, let's say hello to our good friends at Guerrilla Machining, at Grid Defense, at the California Republican Assembly. I also want to give a little shout out to the additional sponsors that are going to be with us in November. I always want to say November. January the 17th. January the 17th at SHOT Show, at Hofbrauhaus in Las Vegas during SHOT Show. You don't need SHOT Show creds to get into the Hofbrauhaus. And we've got our good friends from Gun Tech USA, our next level training, and Keltec Firearms that are also kicking in for this blast we'll be having on January the 17th.
Folks, this is going to be the bash. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be the bash of SHOT. I'm just going to tell you right now. So you got to be there. You got to come.
They've asked me to bring the party down. They said 7 p.m. We want to know if we could start at 7 p.m. They think it's going to be the Hofbrauhaus thinks it's going to be such a big party. They want to know if we could start it earlier. And I said, oh, okay. So 7 p.m. on starting on Monday night.
It's always 7 p.m. somewhere, so why not?
Yeah, exactly.
7 p.m. Monday night. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan. So, folks, make sure that you guys come out. Make sure that you visit our sponsors. That's Guerrilla Machining, Grid Defense, California Republican Assembly. Folks, if you are in California, there is some ghetto hot mess that they are introducing as legislation going into this election year. I visit their website. You'll get a chance to read a lot about it. Matter of fact, you'll see me over there talking a lot about it as well. Check them out. If you're in the state of California, help us fight the fight. And if you're not in the state of California, still help us fight the fight. And also visit our other sponsors. These are the folks who help make sure this program happens. So please make sure you visit them, support them as they support us. Finally, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. If you just want to listen to us, as I said before, we are now on podcast, The Rundown, 2A News and Conservative Views. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out. You can listen to us. So once again, subscribe and encourage your friends to do the same. That is going to be it for Taco Tuesday. I'm going to go get me some late lunch tacos. And I'm sure that Mikey's probably down. He's ready for his dinner tacos now. You got enough room yet?
I'm going. I think I'm going to go make some room right now.
He's going to go make some room right now. Okay. Well, that's going to be
like
it,
on
folks.
the kitchen counter. Like on the kitchen counter. Don't think anything weird.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right, folks. Right. We'll see you tomorrow on Hump Day.
Hump Day.